What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the TEN 7 MMA Show. And we are back in the new year. This is our second show of 2025. And we are just getting rolling with the UFC and mixed martial arts in the new year. Got a UFC fight night coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. That's going to, or sorry, no, it is this weekend. What am I saying? January 11th. And then a big UFC actually pay-per-view the following weekend on the 18th. Now, the card this weekend, we're not going to talk about so much except for one fight that your teammate is on, which is Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But yeah, there's some other exciting news pieces that we're going to talk about and touch on. And it looks like we got some comments coming in right now. Armin will KO Islam. All right, that's one of the first comments from Engel for Productions. I don't know about that. What do you think about that fight, Justin? Do you think there's some credibility to that statement?
I mean, anybody can beat anybody, I guess, but there's a reason Islam Makhachev is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now. Yeah, he has been knocked out once. It's been a long time. I mean, the way he handled Charles Oliveira, the way he handled Dustin Poirier, I mean, those are bold claims with not much backing it up. I understand, obviously having some emotional support or maybe being emotionally invested in a fighter, but again, to say that he's going to knock out the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world is a bold stretch, and until I see someone put their pocketbook where their mouth is, nothing's valid to me.
I don't think it's going to happen, only because I think Armin is a tremendous fighter and maybe the second best fighter in the lightweight division. But I just think, well, like you said, I guess anything can happen. But the team he's got behind him, the way he prepares, the mental preparation, what he's already been through, the differential in experience, I feel like you have to lean towards Islam. Plus, people say he's pound for pound for a number of reasons. One of those being how well-rounded he is all across the board. People forget, I think sometimes, and maybe not so much anymore, but sometimes people dismiss his striking. His striking is actually tremendous. So I don't know. By the way, we've got MGal4 Production says to you, Justin. Justin, big fan of yours. So
hey,
there you go.
Man, I appreciate you.
And also says, Justin, do you train at Extreme Couture?
Not only do I train there, I coach there full-time. Right now I'm at Lakeshore High School in Michigan. I took my son to the Lions game last night. Fucking incredible game. But I'm heading back tonight. I'll be back in Las Vegas tonight. I coach there full-time, 6 days a week, and I train there full-time. I'm going to be announcing a bare knuckle fight coming up soon. Talked to Terrell Bracken this morning. The announcement will be coming in the next couple weeks. I get one of my best friends, Josefa Capadia, that gets to be cage side and commentate. I know you don't want to, but I'm asking you to because I want the best to do it. And I want you front row, man. When we're spitting blood, man, I want you to be in the shower effect. So, MGal4 Productions, really appreciate your support. And again, reiterate, I do train Extreme Couture. I coach Extreme Couture, and appreciate all the support coming up for my next fight coming up when I announce it.
And by the way, if you absolutely insist, I know we'll talk about this more offline. Like, I will do it. I think we got cut off on our phone call. What I was saying is I wanted to be in your corner as opposed to commentating. But we can talk about that later. So yeah, Justin does have that fight coming up. He also does privates at Extreme Couture. That's how me and Justin met, actually. I was in Vegas and I wanted to train at that legendary gym. I trained there. Justin was my trainer, and that's how this all got started. So just a couple more comments before we jump into the topics. Tehran, welcome back. He said, "What's up, boys? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too." I did not see this. I watch everything. But Tehran, you always give me the good tidbits on news that I sometimes miss. This is insane. Is this real? Tony Ferguson, where did he say this, that he has a fight coming up?
Look it up. Google it.
Okay. I mean, the only person that I think would make sense for Tony Ferguson, I told you, would be Clay Guida. I don't really.
No, Cowboy Cerrone.
No,
they both lost 7 fights in a row. One of them
actually, we talked about this. We did talk about this.
Yeah,
okay,
we talked about this.
That's actually an okay fight. And Tony did beat Cowboy, if I remember correctly. No, wait, yeah, Tony beat Cowboy. Remember his eye blew up, and then
he blew his nose. He broke his nose and he blew his nose. And in case any of you guys wonder, when you break your nose, never blow your nose. Never let it drain. Let all the blood drain and spout it, but never blow your nose. Your eyes will swell up.
Yeah, and I think even he said afterwards, he's like, I knew not to do that. I don't know why I did that. Okay, wait. So El Kukui, Boogeyman, here, let me screen share as I'm reading this. I was for sure thought the UFC was not going to let Tony fight again. Tony Ferguson completely destroyed himself to reinvent it as an artist. I aim to show you something you've never seen before. 2025 in my sights. Stay tuned and watch the magic unfold. Okay, fight news coming soon. And he's got the UFC shorts on. I mean, I got to believe it's in the UFC. What the heck? If you Ferguson isn't riding off into the sunset yet, probably will be his last fight.
I'm actually really surprised UFC if they even let him go. Maybe it's for Game Bread, maybe it's for BKFC, but I can't see the UFC putting. He's lost 8 fights in a row, and he doesn't look. He looks worse every fight. Unfortunately, it's not like he's getting better and he's losing close decisions. He's just losing fights. And I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan, and I've always said since day one, and I'll stick to it. If he doesn't want to retire, I support him. What I think he should do and what he wants to do probably are 2 different things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the fans think. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what Tony thinks. And if he wants to keep fighting, trust me, dude. I've lost the last 6 of my 7, bro. Like it's just your body. Age is caught up with us. I'm not as fast as I used to be. I'm realizing it in training. My recovery isn't the same. Tony's going through it too, and unfortunately, it's just really, really hard. And I'm speaking from experience, not for Tony Ferguson, more for myself. It's fucking hard to let go, guys. Like this has been this year has been so tough for me trying to, I've been doing this, and he's been doing it his whole life, and then just one day you just stop and you have to change and do something else. It's very, very hard when you identify as an athlete. When you've been a fighter, you identify not even as an athlete. An athlete could be a track runner, a volleyball player. When you identify as a fighter for as long as Tony has, for as long as I have, man, the transition back to civilian life is very, very tough, and I'm battling it every day right now.
So speaking of your time and history as a fighter, we actually talked about this last week. So if you guys do remember, but I'll shout this question out from MBL4 Production. It says, what do you think about Cowboy Cerrone taking steroids and then coming back to the UFC? If you want to kind of reiterate what you said on Friday.
Yeah, man, here's the thing. I am a firm believer, and everyone, there's things people are like testosterone. Oh, it's a steroid. It's a steroid. It's like, he was open about it. He's like 42 or what is he? 42 years old. Like, guys, you guys have to understand as an athlete, I'm 35 years old. I have the test levels of a 50-year-old man. When I was in the UFC, we get tested pretty often. I think that steroids should be legal across the board. I think the level of testosterone in your body should have a cap. For instance, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, when they were testing positive and they're juiced to the gills, like they're talking about Vitor Belfort having like 2,000, whatever the measuring unit is in testosterone. I don't know what it is, but the number was like 2,000 to 2,400. Average is 300 to 900, 1,000 being on the higher end. Me, as a 35-year-old athlete, my average is 150. A 25-year-old is going to be 800, 900. How can a 35-year-old compete from a recovery standpoint, from mostly a recovery standpoint, with a 25-year-old that has test levels that are 800 to 1,000, when someone like me who's 35 has test levels from around 150? You just can't compete. So I think for us older athletes, that I think whether it's synthetic testosterone or whether it's natural, I think it should all just be umbrellaed under one category. We talked about this. Say the max level is 1,000. If you're synthetically up to 1,000, you're legal. If you're naturally up to 1,000, you're legal. If your natural level is 800 and you feel like, fuck, I have 200 more to go, take a little bit. But if you cross over that 1,000 number threshold, you're fine. That's when, like, this whole, oh well, his testosterone's elevated. We need to do further testing. That's what the fucking drug testing does. Is they test your level, and if you seem that you're too high for where you should be, then they're gonna take you to do some more tests. So they're not even essentially testing you for synthetic. They're just testing your levels to see if they're high or not. Back to Cowboy Cerrone. I wish he would come to the UFC juiced to the gills, go in there, start somebody, and then fail the drug test and have it be a draw. Just let him feel himself. Let him feel like when he was back in his 20s for one more fight, man. Because once he's off the sauce, once he's off testosterone, once he's off whatever else he's on, like, things are gonna start. He's gonna realize when he gets back. Here's the thing. I think this is bad for Cerrone because I feel with his training, he says that he feels like he's 20 years old again. His recovery is incredible. His sleep's incredible. His muscles look incredible. But now he's gonna get off it, and now his body's gonna go back to how it was before he was on it, which isn't nearly. He's not gonna feel nearly as good. So I am actually concerned when you go from this high to feeling like Superman again, invincible, bro. Like, when I had neck surgery, I did 3 to 4. I might have did 5 months of tests, and oh my god, I felt like a superhuman. I felt strong. I felt work. I was freaking horny again. Like, I was like, this is fucking great. This is the greatest thing ever. And then when I got off it, so I could go fight, I was like, this fucking sucks, man. And it just, I think he's going to have a hard realization in his training that his recovery is not going to be as good as he thought it was going to be because he's an old man, and his test levels are probably low like mine.
Well, I guess we shall see. One quick thing you said, the numbers, the units, just for you guys, if you do want to know for testosterone, it's nanograms per deciliter. So typically it's 300 to 1,000 nanograms of test per deciliter in the blood. That's the measurement. Real quick, somebody says, hey, somebody was throwing out the idea of Wonder Boy versus Tony. I think that would be rough. I think Wonder Boy would do some pretty bad damage to him. I mean, what do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I agree. I think Wonder Boy would stick on the outside. He's a counter fighter. If you remember when he fought Tyrone Woodley, it was a standoff because Tyrone was trying to counter Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy was trying to counter Tyrone. There was like 3 punches thrown in 25 minutes. It happened twice. So I don't think it's a great matchup for Tony because Tony's going to come forward with his head forward trying to hit Wonder Boy, and Wonder Boy is going to sit back like a sniper and pick him off from range, I think.
All right. Well, I guess we shall see. I am a little bit skeptical that this fight will come together, but I'm very curious and I will watch for sure. I imagine this has to be Tony Ferguson's last fight. You know who I want them to put him up against? What's that dude? What's that dude who was the wrestler who had like 2 fights in the UFC?
CM Punk.
Let's do CM Punk. Tony Ferguson versus CM Punk. That's a great fight.
Here's something else. When I was working with John Morgan, when we're doing commentating, his other fill-in is CM Punk.
Right.
And so I guess, I heard he's a great guy, and I think that at some time this year I might even be working with him, or you might even be working with him as well.
Yeah, and no, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think that'd be a cool fight. CM Punk's got a big name, and let's let Tony have one big crazy send-off fight. Let's see what happens, and then he can maybe retire, maybe he won't retire. I guess, like you said, that's up to him. But yeah, what MGal4 Productions says, MMA legend, that is CM Punk. Let's go. All right, we got a bunch of other comments. We're gonna get back to that, but let's first jump into some of these topics because there are some big topics here that we want to discuss. First and foremost, there's a lot of stuff swirling now. I saw the clip. I'm not so sure that this is such valuable, oh my God, crazy inside information that was leaked, but everybody's freaking out about Joe Rogan talking on his podcast about potentially this fight coming together and what Jon Jones has asked for. But let me play it for you guys and Justin as well, and then you let me know what you think about this. Here we go.
Going to be Aspinall. I think they're trying to come to some sort of an agreement. The rumor is that he wants $30 million, and the UFC is going to pay it.
Since this is the last time we'll speak to you, probably for the.
Okay, this is another clip that's old already, where he says, "Yes, it's 100% happening." I've heard the 30 million. This is on Rogan's podcast, where he's talking to 2 guys who are not like big MMA heads. You can tell like they were having trouble pronouncing Tom Aspinall's name and Alex Pereira's name, stuff like that. But I mean, Justin, does Joe Rogan spitting out this number, talking about this, does it give you confidence, or do you feel like it's a throwaway comment and he's not in the inside and the back rooms talking to Dana White and getting this inside information? What does this tell you?
I mean, Jon Jones is going to ask for a ridiculous amount of money. 30 million sounds in the ballpark. He said that he wanted fuck you money, and 30 million is fuck you money. Win or lose, he gets to sail off in the sunset. I mean, Joe Rogan and Dana White have been together since the 90s, man. I don't think Dana White hides much from Joe Rogan, especially things. And I'm sure if he didn't want it leaked, he would have told Joe, like, hey, let's not talk about this. And for him to come out on his podcast and openly say it, I'm sure it was said. I'm sure it was talked about.
Right.
Joe Rogan seems like a legit guy. And imagine if he exposed some information like that he wasn't supposed to. Dana White would lose his shit on social media. And maybe he will over the next couple days because Dana and Joe, again, they have a close relationship. I'm sure Joe got it from Dana. He's not just going to spout that off because Dana's going to hear about it. And he works for Dana White. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what's crazy about this fight, if and when it does happen, which I do think now it will happen. I said for the longest time I didn't think it was going to happen because I thought the UFC actually didn't want it to happen, which I think was true. But I think now because there's so much buzz and hype around it, they want to do it. What's crazy is Jon may actually do better in a weird way by losing, because I guarantee you he's going to have some sort of automatic rematch clause in there if he were to lose. And if he were to lose, I imagine he's going to probably get something similar to the 30 million, maybe not the full 30, maybe like 20, who knows? And then he'll come around. Let's say he fights in the rematch and then wins, and then has one last fight against Alex Pereira. He actually might make more money than if he just beats Aspinall. Because I imagine if he beats Aspinall, he's going to fight Pereira and retire, or just retire right out the bat. I mean, what do you think? Do you agree with me on that? That there's probably an automatic rematch clause in there?
I mean, this is a fight. This isn't a soccer game. This isn't a football game. Like, if he goes in there and Tom Aspinall fucks him up, why would he want a rematch? You know what I mean? Like, if it's a close fight and maybe he loses a close decision or maybe he gets robbed somehow, okay, yeah, I can see that. But if he goes there and loses 4 rounds, 5 rounds, gets his face crushed, breaks a bone, like, why would he want to go through that again? He's going to take his 30 million and ride off in the sunset. At least that's what I would do.
When do you think makes? By the way, we got somebody in here says Guru Sis from MMA Guru. He says people forget, man. That's an inside joke. If you watch a lot of the streams of MMA Guru, he always he impersonates everybody, but his Joe Rogan impersonation is hilarious. He's always like, people forget, man. You get this guy on the ground, and he's gonna get you every time. He's slippery. He's slick out there. Like it's so funny. Anyways, Guru Sis, I think you might be new to the stream. What's up? What's up? But yeah, for Jones having that victory in November at his age, although, you know, he had a long layoff prior to that fight, how long do you think it would take him to recover and get back into camp? Also being a heavyweight, really not taking much damage, it looked like anyways in that fight whatsoever. What do you think would be a reasonable time that we could expect him back?
I mean, it's tough to say. He could be right. I mean, it just really depends on where his head is. But, like, do you think he's in any rush to get back in there with all the stress? Like, fighting is stressful, man. Like, whether you're training is stressful. Going home and sleeping, wondering if you're getting enough, like, just the whole process is so stressful. And, you know, Jon Jones doing it at the top level. And that's why, you know, that's why he's such a freaking GOAT. You know, I still believe George St. Pierre is the GOAT, but to be able to perform at the top level for how long he has done, and I mean, that's so stressful. Plus all the criminal allegations, and like this guy, man, he's gonna die like within 10 years from like a heart attack or something. Like this, like there's so much stress. Why would he want to put himself? Why would he want to rush himself back into a stressful situation? I think he's gonna sit back. He's gonna enjoy this win for maybe 4 months, 6 months, and then talk about putting a date on this fight. If I had to guess, I'm gonna guess right now. My official guess is September to October of 2025.
Okay, let's see. Just a couple comments, and then we'll move on. Tehran, in agreement with myself, says, I think Jones embarrasses Tom and makes it look fairly easy. I mean, I don't know, fairly easy. I think he wins. I think Jones wins. I think he's going to put together an insane game plan. He's going to come out and show people what's up. So I think he's going to win. It's kind of like the same way people were talking about Sergey Pavlovich is just unstoppable, and then Volkov beats him. I'm not saying Tom will fade off into the background, but I think Tom will still be a champion for sure one day. But I think that people will quickly somewhat dismiss it. It seemed impossible. I think it seems impossible almost to beat Tom Aspinall, and then Jon Jones is going to do it, and people will not give him that fair credit that would match the way that people are talking about Tom Aspinall right now. MGAL4 Productions also says Jones is the best ever. Let's go. A couple other things. What is this? Justin, cage fighting. Cage fighting is a crazy way to make a living. Agree? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is, man. It's not much of a living to be made, but I do got a lot of great memories.
And last but not least, I think Jones, Tom happens International Fight Week in July. Let's pray. I don't want to wait till September. I want it to go down into the summer. Come on, let's go. One more comment. Fighters are the hardest job in the world, and refs have the second hardest. What about coaches? I feel like coaching has got to be, man. I was just talking to Shay O'Neill today from Fusion Fight League, and he has a gym and he coaches a bunch of fighters, but he's fighting in the Fusion Fight League card coming up on January 18th. And he was saying how coaching, and you know this too, Justin, because you're a coach, but he said coaching is even more stressful than going in there yourself because you just lose that control. I mean, what do you think? Is coaching, would you say, the second hardest, or is it even harder than fighting?
It's definitely not harder than fighting. Nothing's harder than fighting. Coaching, it's very emotional. At least for me, it's very emotional. I feel I'm very connected to all my fighters, but I'm not the one getting my face caved in. I'm not the one bleeding. I'm not the one breaking my bones. I'm watching, and yeah, I feel really bad for my guy. And there's been times, you know, when Lars Wittenberger lost, you know, he's one of my very hopeful amateurs, man. I'm really emotional about it. It made me cry one of the times, and that sucks. Don't get me wrong, but if I had to say, do I want to get in there and get punched in the face and break bones or sit on the edge and cry because one of my guys lost, I'm going to sit on the outside of the cage.
Got you. All right, fair point. All right, let's move it
Or
along.
weight cut,
Yep.
or weight cutting. Like a big
Oh,
part about
God.
being a fighter is making weight. Absolutely not. Whoever says that coaching is harder, I'm not saying Shay's an idiot because obviously he's not. He's an incredible fighter. He's an incredible coach. But there's no chance I can agree with that because you don't have to get in the tub and cut weight, and there's nothing harder than that.
I'm slightly misquoting him. I don't think he said it's harder than fighting, but he said it's difficult. It's like an emotional roller coaster. It's more of an emotional roller coaster is what he said, I believe, because he has no control. He can't get in there. And he once they're in there, he's just sort of stressed. The reason why he said that was because he's not coaching any fighters on this card. And he told Terrell, the owner of Fusion Fight League guys, that he does not want to coach any fighters on the card that he's fighting because it's too many emotions. So that was kind of the context. Okay,
that makes sense.
Let's move along, guys. I see we got a bunch more comments, especially from M Gal 4 Productions. We're gonna highlight those in a second. Let's just keep it going to topic number 2. Colby, dude, I gotta stop making videos and bringing up Colby Covington and topics. I feel like I'm doing it so much now, and I don't want to just keep making negative videos. But he keeps saying stuff and keeps coming out doing really bizarre things. So if you guys didn't see, I made a video yesterday. Check it out. It's about Colby Covington filming himself. Justin, did you see this? He filmed himself giving food and handing food and water out to a homeless gentleman, and he posted it on his live stream. I thought that was so weird. Who does that? Who goes out and like does act of charity and like films it and broadcasts it? Like, I don't know how that has to have an ulterior motive, especially from Colby. It was so bizarre. But anyways, so I couldn't stay silent about that. I thought it was very strange and wanted to point that out. Now he comes out and says this about your boy, about your teammate. So I don't know if you've seen this, but let's get your live reaction here. I just want to hear what you have to say.
Welterweight, but the Sean Strickland fight's always interesting. He's had his things to say about me in the past. I don't think he's anything special. He's got a jab, he's got a front kick, but besides that, you shut those weapons down, and he's very limited. So, he's a cardio fighter. He's just a cardio kickboxer essentially. So, I don't see any threats out of Sean Strickland, and it's an entertaining fight that I might entertain in the future. We'll see.
You know who we forgot about?
This is insane. This is insane. Like, he's talking about fighting in one breath, talking about wanting to fight Paddy Pimblett, Mike Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and then in divisions below him, claiming that he doesn't cut any weight, so it would be quite easy. And then in the other breath, he's talking about taking on Sean Strickland. I don't know. What is your first reaction?
Dude, guys grasping for straws. Nobody cares about Colby. Nobody cares to watch him fight, and he's just calling out every name he can think of that might spark interest. Now someone grabs it, and he's doing it for clicks, man. He calls out Sean Strickland, all right? Do you know how easy it is to instigate Sean into social media? I thought someone was talking to me. Into a social media argument. You know how easy, that's why Sean doesn't go out. And he's mentioned it. He's like, you know what, I can't even go out because every time I go out, there's always a YouTuber, there's always a fighter that's trying to prod me, or someone's trying to do an interview they're trying to ask me questions. They know how I'm going to react, and they're trying to get views on their channel. And it's fucking bullshit. And that's what Colby's doing right now. He's calling out Sean Strickland to try to stay relevant. He's calling out Sean Strickland, trying to get under Sean's skin. So Sean's like, oh, fuck you, let's fight. Oh, yeah, come on up. And then Colby will say something back, talk about his jab. What does Colby have? Colby didn't even beat Joaquin Buckley, man. Like, what does Colby have? Oh, you're wrestling? You ain't taking Sean down. I mean, your shots are trash. I mean, you used to be a great wrestler, and you're not anymore, man. Face it, you're fucking old. You suck. Like, and here's the thing I love about this channel, the thing I love about being a fighter is I am not talking shit. I would say this to Colby's face. Like, these are just facts. He go, oh, he has a good jab and a good front kick. Well, he walks everybody down. He backs them up. Nobody's gotten back into Sean's face, and that's what it is. And Colby isn't going to do that. Sean will out wrestle him. He'll out grapple him. Sean's an incredible grappler. He is a black belt. He has incredible wrestling. But this whole Colby thing, I think he's just desperate grasping for straws.
It's crazy. And now I think he's even losing track of what is the truths that he's saying and what are the things that he's saying just to be inflammatory and just to get clicks. I think it's almost like he's breaking down and losing his vision of himself and losing control of reality in real time. It's really, really bizarre. And I really don't want this channel or like my individual videos to take this negative turn where I'm just like crapping on. Really, the only person I feel the need to make negative videos about is Colby, because I actually feel offended in a lot of ways by the way he's carrying himself, the things he's doing. I don't like this notion too where he tries to like help people on the street and do positive things and pretend like he's a good role model. And then the other side, he's like stiffing his trainers. I'm pretty sure I want to know what happened to MMA Masters. I really want to know. Do you know anybody there or no?
No, no, I don't know anybody there.
But anyway, so I digress. I just want to show you this clip because he's talking about your teammate. He's talking about Sean Strickland. It is what it is. We got a couple comments and then we'll move on. I know you got to go in a few minutes here. Oh, by the way, MGal Production says, I'm from Miami. We don't claim Colby. Yeah, no surprise there. I imagine that. Colby said he wants to. Yeah, we just talked about that. Of course, Strickland. That's the thing about
no
this.
Question.
Obviously, Sean Strickland destroys Colby Covington. I don't know what's happened to him, but the speed of his shots has diminished substantially. We saw that in the Leon fight, and it was even more pronounced in the Joaquin Buckley fight. Maybe he's got an injury. Maybe he has some issues. Maybe it's a combination of things. There is no way he's going to shoot and take Sean Strickland down, not in a million years. Pern says, I've avoided Colby since the Leon fights. It's worked out. I've avoided Colby. Okay, yep. It just maybe his interviews, I suppose. And then I lost respect for Colby once he went at Leon Edwards' father. Of course, that was insanity. That was insane. You can't hide behind a character and say those negative things. Yeah. I've beaten this dead horse enough. Let's move on before Justin's got to go. Okay, I want to say this. Ariel Helwani today did his show, the awards show for 2025. I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I don't know. I just wasn't super into it. I feel like I still love Ariel's really good interviews, but I'm not so into the show when they just discuss and talk. But let me guys know if you agree or disagree with my take on that. But that's just me personally. But I wanted to say this to you. He did the fight of the year, and he was the only guy on the show. So I give him props for this, that called my fight. He said he almost picked Pereira versus Roundtree as the fight of the year, which I think still should be. I can't believe not more people picked that fight as the fight of the year. It was amazing in terms of the arc and the trajectory and the ups and downs and the stakes and all that stuff. But he said his fight of the year is Dustin versus Islam, which was a great fight. Don't get me wrong. But he was like, man, Dustin really gave him some trouble, and he really came out there swinging. I tend to believe, while that was an amazing fight, I wouldn't call it fight of the year. I tend to believe that Ariel picked that fight because he's got a very, very, very close relationship with Dustin Poirier. And I understand that. I get that if you have a close relationship with the fighter, that's going to make it so much more intense for you. So I think that's where he's coming from. But Justin, I just want to throw this to you. I know your fight of the year was Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. What do you?
I changed it.
Ribovich, right?
Yes.
Changed to Rivich. They also
Daniel,
yeah.
The guy for Daniel and UFC No Chase. I rewatched it. If you guys haven't watched it, bro, it blew my socks off. I thought I don't remember watching it the first time. You know, I remember Daniel fighting and saying how incredible it was. Rewatched it. Wow, it blows all the other fights away.
It was an amazing fight. My only critique of that fight being fight of the year is because I think Ariel mentioned, I feel the same way. The stakes, my connection to the fighter, that is a piece of the puzzle for me for sure. But it was an incredible fight. What do you think about this call, Dustin versus Islam, as the fight of the year? Do you think it's would it be in your top 5, top 10? Where would you rank it?
I'd have to rewatch it. I remember watching it, being really excited. But the problem with it is, it'd been fight of the year if Dustin had been losing that fight and then came back and won, or if it was competitive throughout the fight. But unfortunately, I thought Islam dominated the fight. Dustin had a lot of good moments, but he was never close to winning. He never was close to knocking him out. He never had him hurt. I thought he put up an incredible fight, but I can't call it fight of the year because it was too one-sided.
That's how I feel. Justin, I know you have to go. Can we just quickly before we finish?
Go. Yeah,
get your thoughts and the main, because I want to talk about this fight because it's your teammate, Chris Curtis. We've had him on the show. Chris Curtis is the man fighting Roman Kopylov, who, by the way, kind of looks like, what's his name? What's that one fighter in the lightweight division who we talked about? Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Legend, Chase Hooper. He looks like Chase Hooper a little bit, a little tiny bit. But anyways, what do you think about this fight? And what have you seen in terms of Chris's training over the last few weeks?
Let me tell you. Chris Curtis, when is he fighting?
This Saturday.
Bro, this guy, I'm concerned for him making weight. He is so huge. The last time I saw him 2 or 3 weeks ago, I've been in Michigan for the last little while. He was huge. He looked like a bodybuilder. And I was like, Chris, how much do you weigh right now? And he was like 210 or 220 pounds, and he doesn't have much fat on him. So for him to be fighting, I'm really concerned about his weight cut. Chris, man, he's a guy in the gym that I look up to a lot. He's been on our show before. He's just, as you know from his personality, he's He's very intense. He's very emotional when it comes to things he cares about. And, you know, I'm sure he's going to make weight, but I am concerned about that hurting his gas tank in this fight.
I imagine, though, being that jacked and that ripped means he must be training really hard, right? And he must be taking his nutrition very seriously. If that's
Oh
the
yeah,
case.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he trains. I mean, him and Sean Strickland are best friends. I mean, I know they got in a fight. I don't know if it's public, but they got in this big fight right before I left. Like, I think Chris slapped Sean, or Sean slapped Chris. I can't remember. Punched one of them, punched the other one over something stupid. You know, and I'll tell you this too, Chris. Unfortunately, man, this really sucks because this might have been the last fight camp that we'll have with him at Extreme Couture. He's
Really?
expressed interest in him and his family. Yeah, him and his wife. Well, it's not his wife. I think it's his girlfriend. I'm sure soon to be wife, and their newborn are looking to move to Thailand in March. So I'm really bummed about that. Yeah, there's been an incredible time with Chris. Like I said, he's a mentor at the gym. He's a guy that I look to for advice. He's a guy that I can call and he'll answer and, you know, answer my questions, man. So I'm hoping for my sake and the gym's sake that it doesn't happen. But Chris told me a couple weeks ago that he is moving to Thailand in March.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see. But I have to imagine you're picking Chris in this fight over Roman Kopylov. And by the way, Roman Kopylov is off a one-fight win split decision at UFC 302. He lost his previous fight at UFC 298. Are you picking Chris? I imagine you are. And if so, how?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, man, dude. Chris is like the Hulk. He's going to go in there. He's going to knock this cat out. Like, people just don't understand. I mean, when you watch Chris versus, was it Jack Hermanson, that Jack ran from him the whole fight? Like,
Yeah.
Jack found out that in that cage that he goes, I made a mistake. Like, I cannot get hit by this guy. Chris is one of the most powerful punchers I've ever seen in my life. It's fucking insane how strong this guy is. I have Chris Curtis by knockout within 2 rounds.
All right. There you guys have it. Chris Curtis by knockout. All right, Justin, go do your thing. I know you got to run. Good luck with the coaching. I'm going to stay on for just a little bit longer and answer or get back to some of these comments. All right, and then have
Sounds
safe
good,
travels
guys.
back to Vegas. Peace.
I'll be back in Vegas tonight, guys. See you later. Thanks so much.
Yep. All right. Later. Okay. So we got MGal Production says Dustin versus Islam was good. Yeah, it was a great fight. Let me know if you guys agree with me in the comments. Does anybody else feel like Pereira versus Roundtree was the fight of the year? I gave my explanation on a previous show as to why. Let me summarize it one more time. Here's the thing. The things that I consider, it's sort of in line with what Ariel says, right? It's the emotions, it's the stakes, it's the fighters, it's how I feel about the fighters. So it definitely is subjective. I'm not saying this needs to be a universal pick by any means, but I was shocked that more people didn't pick Pereira versus Roundtree. So let me give you my take. First of all, it was his third fight of the year. Again, it was a championship fight. So that's the third championship related fight of the year. He's on an incredible tear. He is beloved. Everybody, me included, loves what's it called? Alex Pereira. He's my second favorite fighter in the UFC right now, only to Khamzat Chimaev. Kind of like if he's right beneath him. I love watching Pereira. I will watch any Pereira fight. I love the way he carries himself. Love everything about him. He's incredible. Wish he spoke English because I feel like we would like him even more. But that being said, he's incredible. Love his fighting style. I train Muay Thai. I love to watch a good kickboxer. Everything is incredible. Then we have Khalil Roundtree coming in, who is an amazing Muay Thai fighter. Everybody counted him out. Everybody thought this was kind of a gimme fight. He was ranked 8th. And then Khalil comes in and wins the first 2 rounds. I wouldn't say dominates Pereira, but really crushes Pereira. I'm freaking out. I think all other Pereira fans are just panicking, wondering what's going on. Khalil seems invincible. And then somehow, I don't know. And by the way, Pereira comes into that fight. We find out later with injuries, with, I think, maybe slight fractures, some other tendon issues. He came in pretty impaired. And then somehow in the 3rd round, finds the inner spiritual strength or whatever he musters, and then all of a sudden starts putting it on Khalil, dominates the 3rd round, and then comes in and just completely annihilates him in round 4, secures that victory. And the entire arc and the trajectory, watching him come back from nearly getting defeated and then pulling off an incredible victory at a straight, pretty much kickboxing fight. It was amazing. I was jumping out of my seat. So much fun. So awesome. One of the coolest fights, one of the coolest displays of kickboxing. I think the only critique you could have of it is it was pure kickboxing. There was no grappling or wrestling. So maybe it wasn't fully well-rounded for some folks liking, but to me, it was amazing. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree on that. Okay. I think mine is a bare knuckle fight, and I can't remember the names. All right, bare knuckle's dope. Justin's doing a bare knuckle fight. I can't believe it. It's crazy. Bare knuckle is the one sport that like UFC fighters are like, that's crazy. We're not doing that. You're going to break your hands. Topuria is the fighter of the year. I disagree with that. Justin agrees with you. I disagree with that. I think it's Alex Pereira. Now, Justin gave a really, really solid argument, and lots of other people have as well, as to why it's Topuria. He defeated 2 legends by knockout that have, well, at least Max Holloway had never been knocked out in 1 year back-to-back. I get it. That's unbelievable. That's insane. But it's not like the people that Pereira beat were slouches. He's beating all, well, except for Khalil Roundtree, he's beating all former champs. He smoked and just smoked them. Smoked Yuri, smoked Jamal Hill. Both short notice fights, saving the day, coming in injured and getting impressive knockouts. And then you have him fighting a third time, already having 2 title defenses very close in proximity to one another, coming in injured, doing what he did in such impressive fashion, people just loving him, corralling behind him. And then he still takes on a third fight in that year. And he's not a spring chicken, 37, I think, 36, 37. And then does it again, pulls off the victory again when he was getting beaten, lost rounds 1 and 2. I just feel like as amazing as Topuria is and as incredible as it is what he did, 3 versus 2 is such a added substantial task that I don't know. But what are we talking, right? Potato. They both had amazing years. Not to diminish what Topuria did. That was incredible. I just feel very strongly that Alex just barely nudges it there. And yeah, but hey, maybe we can have co-fighters of the year, both incredible. All right, Tehran says, if I'm being honest, Holloway Gaethje wasn't all that good. It was only exciting in the end. So they talked about this on Ariel's show, and I'll tell you what they said, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So because some people picked it as fight of the year, I don't think it was fight of the year, kind of for the same reasons that you're citing, Tehran. So I think it was New York Rick who said, no, this was my fight of the year. Here's what he said, and it actually makes sense. Tell me what you think. Holloway went into that fight, everybody counting him out. I think it was plus 220 at one point in the odds. And yet he came out and had a dominating performance, partially because of that early spinning back kick that I think broke Gaethje's nose. And then it was domination throughout the entire fight. So from that perspective, it was very exciting, and it wasn't what people expected. And then you would say, right, there wasn't a real back and forth. So maybe that diminishes the value of the fight because it was kind of like Holloway was running away, excuse me, with the victory. But then we had that super exciting finish where they come in the center. And I think that was interesting because Holloway didn't need to do it, but he did it anyways, and then got the knockout with 1 second left. Pretty wild finish. So for those reasons, for sort of the drama, for the expectations going into it, how Max Holloway handled himself and what ended up transpiring, for all those reasons, New York Rick felt pretty strong in his stance that, yes, this was his fight of the year. I don't know. Let me know what you think. All right. Roman is a handful. Yes, he is. He looked great in his last fight. That's not a bad choice. I think you're talking about Pereira versus Roundtree. I was really excited about that one. I can't say that I was really excited for it. I'm just being honest because I thought Pereira was going to smoke him. I thought he was going to walk through him. But that was, again, what made it so cool. That's not what happened. And Roundtree was a legend, fought an amazing fight. And then, but then we saw Pereira come back and pull off the victory. I think people underestimated Roundtree. Yeah, for sure. I did. 100% I did. I can't wait to see Roundtree fight again. I hope they give him a really good matchup, a really interesting match. I'd like to see him fight Jamal Hill, actually. Let's see what happens with Jamal Hill versus Yuri, but I'd love to see Roundtree fight Jamal Hill. Yeah. Okay. Now watch that fight again. Yeah, I watched it twice. I'm going to watch it again probably at some point too. It was really, really good. All right. Well, that's it, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about today's show. And if you haven't subscribed and you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe button. We'd love to have you join along in our journey. We are growing, I think, at 543 subs. Who knows? Maybe we gain 1 or 2 during the show. I don't know. But also, we have content coming out on the regular beyond just the Monday, Friday shows. I'm trying to release a video every day on just news, things that come out that I want to comment on. Let me know as well what you guys want to see more of. Once we get the memberships going, we're going to start having for certain tiers of memberships, Justin's betting picks, as well as our friend who's a professional gambler, Aaron. He's going to come on and give his picks and his thoughts, and that's going to be really cool. That will be one of the membership perks for people who do want to sign up. I know, Pern, you were talking about the membership, or was it Pern or Western? I can't remember. that was talking about the memberships earlier, but we almost got those set up hopefully by the end of the week. But that's all we got for you guys today. 2025, let's go. 2024 for me was the greatest year in the history of mixed martial arts and the UFC. Big things that I hope will happen this year, but I don't think will happen. Number one, UFC finally gets Dakota Ditcheva into the UFC. I heard MMA Joey saying, no, keep her in the PFL. Let's build her up. Not interested. I don't really watch the PFL, and she is such a star and so much fun to watch and such an incredible fighter. I hope the UFC can somehow get her immediately. It would be so cool to have a young fighter like that. I think she's 26 or 27. Get a belt early by 28 and just defend the heck out of it with that amazing fighting style and fight IQ and all the skills that she's acquired. That would be incredible. Number two, and I heard Ariel talk about this, and I don't think it's going to happen, sadly, but I hope the UFC brings Muhammad Mokaev back. I mean, I want to see him go in there and fight Pantoja. I think he could beat Pantoja. And with all the controversy that has surrounded him, and I know there's maybe some negative emotions and relationships surrounding him and the staff of the UFC, but it has built up a lot of anticipation and headlines. And I think bringing him back, if they can make peace and come to a nice term of agreement, and maybe he can make amends for whatever wrongdoings he did, let's bring him back. That would be so exciting for the flyweight division. Anyways, that's all we got for today. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you in the next episode. Take it easy.